Hi everybody, my name is Amber Pedro. So some of the things that I really liked and pulled out of the different resources that we had were the text-to-speech and speech-to-text resources. Those are super helpful for any kids with the 504 or an IEP, depending on whatever it is that they need. I actually have a student in my class who has dyslexia, and she has some slow processing, and of course she has an IEP because of the dyslexia, and she uses the speech to text often. She is getting much better with being able to read, which is awesome, but being able to put things down on paper or even into the computer, it's still really difficult for her. Her brain, switches those things up. And so that speech to text I've seen in person is really, really helpful. So one of the other things that I love is small group instruction. Now, I know that they were talking about like the I forget exactly what they called it, but it was like an intervention type of system where they had small group instruction. They had 3 different tiers, and they were able to appropriately place students into the specific tier that they needed, whether it just be small group or a one-to-one instruction or whatever the dependency is in that situation. I would love to see something like that happen, but in my experience so far, I went from a paraprofessional, now I am interning as my first year as a SPED teacher, and it's just so hard to be able to have the amount of adults in the classroom or even around to be able to have that kind of a tiered system. So obviously that was like an intervention. There was a specific company that came in and helped to lead that, which is amazing, and I would love something like that. But even though we don't have something like that, we can still do that small group instruction where if like a paraprofessional is in the room, you can take one part of the class that is like picking it up faster and teach them at a speed that they appreciate, and then give the other part of the class a speed that they appreciate, and by giving the paraprofessional specific instructions, they would be able to back you up in that. So there's like a couple of different things. I know that the video didn't talk specifically about that, but that small group instruction can easily be switched over to like the 504 IEP students. But and in that intervention, they were talking about like ELA and being able to assist students in learning English. And then I loved the idea of sentence frames. I do this with my own students in my SPED class, and I didn't even realize it. Like there are specific responses that I'm expecting from them. So with my SPED kids, I have ED, so emotional disruptive disorder, or different things like that. And so a lot of times they'll come back at me and they'll say, they have to have the last word, or they pop off with a cuss word, or whatever the situation is. And so I will specifically frame the response that I'm looking for in that situation. And I'll say, right now, you don't need to make your point. You can just say, okay, Miss Pedro, and move on, and just trying to show them the way on that. So but I like the way that they use that specifically for EL students. That was so awesome. And so it kind of helps to educate, but then also it talked about that empowering and helping them to feel good about themselves, and just having that understanding, and just like with a drop of water that slowly changes the way that rocks, even like something as hard as quartz or something, is shaped. We can just create those sentence frames, regularly reinforce that, and then positively reinforce that without having to add that negative reinforcement in. And over time, that student will also be reshaped. So, okay, I guess that's it. Thanks.